This is the historic Folsom powerhouse. It was built in 1895 and it was revolutionary for its time, as it was one of the first plants to utilize AC current, and so that made it capable of transmitting electricity over longer distances. And so if you see right here, you can see the machine shop, and so this is where they would house people to repair malfunctioning equipment here at the plant. And this powerhouse was able to power the Sacramento area for around 50 years, so it had a pretty good service life. And it's located in Folsom, and it uses the American River to provide the water to generate power for this plant. Out here we can see the step-up transformers, and so the generator inside the powerhouse over here is capable of generating power at 800 volts, and so these step-up transformers would take it up to 100,000 volts, which made it more efficient to share electricity with the local area. And so unlike earlier transformers, these were able to cool down better, and that made it less likely to break down. And so these were some of the best of the best electrical technology that you had back in the early 1900s. We can see right here that we have the lead covered cable, and so this would transmit electricity from the switchboard to the transformers that were showed before. So those are right there. And then this very dense wood would be used for the bearings in the turbines. And so then this down here is a small example of a transformer that is displayed at the museum. And fun fact about this wood here that's used for the turbine bearings is that this wood will not float. So it comes from it's a South American kind of wood. It's extremely dense. This room right here is the room where water would be carried from the river and it would be taken into the powerhouse. So here is a panoramic view of this room. And so as you can see, we have these huge pipes. And so what they would do is that they would take water from the American River, which is very, very close by. And then what would happen next is that all this water would be transferred via a small canal, and then would come up through those pipes all the way up there, and then it would come down to here. And so this is the falling water would be converting all that potential energy into kinetic energy. And so this is the basic principle behind all dams, is that you'll have water that falls down or water that is moving, and then this allows you to turn a shaft. And so turning this shaft will turn the coils, which will generate electricity. And these pipes are very large, and you can see just how much machinery there is here. It's quite a complicated feat. You can see all those bolts in there that are keeping this together. It's a very old, and this powerhouse is not in use anymore, so you can see those plants growing in the side. And so yeah, let's now take a look at the generator itself. So this is these are where all the copper coils that do all the hard work of generating the electricity. This is where they are. This is where it's from. So it's right behind the. It's right in front of the room that was just showed before with all the where all the water flows down. So here it is. Here's the coils right here. And so water would turn this shaft. So right here is the end of the shaft. And so this was able to this would rotate at 300 revolutions per minute. And if you were to do the math, that comes out to 5 revolutions per second. So one revolution takes just 0.2 seconds. And so you can see right here, there's all these copper coils, which are, of course, not functional today. But yeah, this is a very huge coil, and so it's close to twice my height. So yeah, these are huge. Here is another type of transformer, and so this is actually older than the transformer that I showed you at the beginning of this video. And yeah, so this is an older version of the transformers showed before. So this is where all the engineers and workers back in the day would take measurements of the electricity. And so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 levers. And so each of these panels would control one of the generators. So there were a total of 4 of them. And you can see this sign right here. This used to output 3,000 kilowatts of electricity back in the day, and so back in 1895, this was the most powerful hydroelectric plant in the United States. This plant has been superseded by the newly built Folsom Dam, and so the Folsom Dam generates 50 times more electricity than this power plant produced. So you can see all these gauges. So this is how they would measure everything. There is a fascinating exhibit at this museum where you can turn this lever here, and you'll see that if you turn it slower, it generates a rather dimmer light, but if you do it fast, as I'm doing right now, it creates a much brighter light. So right now this is incandescent lighting, and then you can check out the LED lights, and you'll see that they generate light much more easily. And I can tell you that it's a lot easier to make a bright LED light with my hand than it is to do a bright incandescent. And so this shows how LEDs are much better for generating more light with less power. I don't have to turn my hand as much. This is a similar exhibit, and so it shows how power lines can generate light. So I'm going to turn this with my hand, and it generates a very rather dim light, but it's a light. And so you can see that right there, how you can convert kinetic energy into electrical energy. To conclude, you can see the history of this powerhouse, and so you can see that construction started in 1866, and it was finally completed in 1893. And so you can see right here how the headgates and canals were constructed, and then you can also see the various data about the dam, and you'll see how the construction works. So you can see the large pipes that I showed you before are called penstocks. And so you'd see how excess water was discharged, where all the turbines were. And so there's an engineer back in those days, well, an operator with the switchboard. Then you can see the transformers, transmissions, and then finally, this powerhouse shut down in 1952, so it operated for over 50 years, powering the Sacramento area, and it was superseded by the current day Folsom Dam, which I said before produces 50 times more electricity. And so yeah, that is the story of this place, the place that powered this local area for quite a long time. And I just wanted to add that this could transmit voltage for 22 miles, which, while today that's not that impressive, back in the olden times, it was groundbreaking to be able to transmit electricity that far to so many people. And so yeah, that's why I wanted to share this story. Thank you very much.